I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is
On this
that
sad
is a
clown.
sad clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha Packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Here we go. Hit the record button and then we'll do our little intro. All right. So this guy, we got a guy who's looking good. Just got done with a long day of work. Still got a big smile on, and is a former site Q, but also is a leader in our community. Feeny, man, it's good to see you. You look good, and hopefully you could get a chance to tell us about why you're always smiling. And I've also heard some rumors about technology maybe not being one of your strong suits. I want to get your thoughts there, but no, it's good to see
hot
it.
rumor.
I think it was Swiper. I don't know. Swiper was saying, Feeny's a hard one to get a hold of because he's, technology is not his favorite. So I don't know. You can debunk that or not, but
Yeah, I think I'll take a swipe at that. Yeah.
anyway, start us off from the beginning. We love to just hear like who brought you out. So who EH'd you? What was the first workout like? And then how'd you get the name?
Yeah, awesome. Pumped about being here. Pumped about sharing my story. So it was December 3 years ago. So it'd be December 2020 when Rooney, Rooney and I go back, since we were like 6 years old.
Nice.
Went to the same elementary school together. Went to junior high school together. Been friends forever. He was in my wedding. I was the best man in his wedding. So he came by and he's a little proud of himself. He's feeling good after the workout. And he had just started F3. He's like, "Hey, you got to come. You'll love it." I said, "Yeah, I'm in." And it was, I believe, December 30th, because we were on break for school, and I coach basketball. So during basketball season, it is way more challenging before F3 and even during F3 to get a solid workout in. So show up on a Tuesday at the sanitarium.
Nice.
And it was it was Patton leading the workouts. He was on the queue there, and it was snowy, and it was about 20 degrees, and I didn't have any of the good clothing on or anything that all the vets, the savvy vets do.
Yeah.
And so we go down on the field, and we're doing all sorts of stuff, and I'm just trying to keep up. And guys like Girl Dad and Rooney did not quite tell me modify as necessary. And so I'm trying to keep up with, oh gosh, who was it? Ferd, I know was in that group, and it was a whole group of just butt kickers, and I'm trying to keep up, and oh my gosh, it was tough, and I did for the most part, but it was the aftermath that was rough. It's when that dehydration starts, you get a little tingly, and so Rooney's taking me home, and we get probably 6 or 7 houses away from my street. Of course, he stopped through the McDonald's drive-thru and he had a sausage biscuit. and I said, open the door now. I'm going to throw up. And, I threw up everywhere, all over the street. Get inside, stumble up to the bedroom. I'm lying on the floor, and I'm not even in bad shape. It's just, it's a different type of workout than I was used to. And, of course, I had to turn around and get to basketball by 8:30, I think it was. But I showed up a couple days later, and from that point forward, boy, it's been a blessing for sure. But that was always when the FNGs show up and they go through it. I can help out. Been there.
Yeah. Well, so that's cool. I didn't realize you and Rooney were that close. So it sounds like it was a pretty easy EH just because you knew him and you're like, I'm gonna do whatever this guy's doing because we're buddies. Or
yeah, we pretty much we're very, very similar in what we do. We always have been. So we've done stuff like we had our lawn mowing business together because we were both athletes. And
Oh,
we
nice.
started in 15 and when we were 15 years old, 3-minute mower.
Oh, wow. That's
3-minute mower, mowing grass and kicking butt. Is what I tell my students that, yeah. And so we've done that. We played baseball together. We played basketball together. Our first year teaching at Papier South was the first year together. And then he's moved on to the head principal. And yeah, we've been real close ever since. I'm the godparent to his kids. And yeah, it's great.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And so then the name, obviously, it seems pretty intuitive, but tell us, how did the naming go? Were there any other options that were thrown out for you?
I think I was too woozy to even remember some of the options at the time. I didn't quite tell them about my feet. Usually that's the thing that I'm 6 foot, but I wear size 15. So they went quick right to the teaching. And Feeny is the teacher in Boy Meets World. Yeah. And so they decided that was appropriate. And it's a good name. It's a good name. Yeah. There's a lot worse out there. I know that. Yeah, man. I at the recent shovel pass, I remember looking down for the prayer and I'm like, gosh, whose feet are those? And that's right. It was your feet, man. I couldn't believe that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Shocks people. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit from like a fitness perspective, you were in pretty good shape, maybe had a workout routine already, but what was your experience from a first F? I mean, was it just different style workout, or tell us about that? Well, I still tell people to this day, and like, I need something to be competitive with. I need a goal, and there's nothing better than doing it with like-minded people that are moving the same direction and great guys. It's like it's a team. It doesn't matter if you're 15, if you're 60, you need a team. I mean, when people get really old, into their 70s and 80s, research shows that team in some form of it keeps them alive. It keeps them going. And I'd say just in terms of a consistency, I'm just not mentally tough enough to work out after a full day of teaching and coaching. I've got 3 kids. They're 15, 13, and 9. I've got a wife, and they demand my time, as they should. And it's just, there's so many excuses you can make, but you can't make good enough excuses when it's early in the morning. And that consistency for me and that team atmosphere, it's been everything to me. I think it's what keeps everybody coming back. You always hear that in the COTs. Yes, you get the workout and you get everything, but it's always the people. It's always the people. It doesn't matter if it's teaching. My favorite classes that I've ever had, or my favorite teams that whether it's tennis, basketball, baseball that I've coached, my favorite teams are always, it comes back to the people, and they're always just they're the best behaved, and nobody behaves like F3. I mean, the consistency of it, there's nothing like it. So yeah, I love that, and I think you're spot on. It's interesting too, because like a lot of us are on a team at some point, growing up, maybe through sports or in high school, college, and then you kind of lose that, right? So it's like this huge draw to be able to be a part of that. And I'm curious your thoughts just from like, have you read Free to Lead? Is that something have you had a chance? I haven't, but I've done plenty of the Q sources and aware of it. So. Well, they kind of talk about like male loneliness, right, as being something that is a draw for guys, or like sad clown syndrome. And, do you feel like before F3, was there something maybe you were missing or anything in that space, or was it just the routine and the morning workout with guys that you feel like filled the gap? Yeah, nothing sad clown in terms of the loneliness, because plenty of groups of people that I invest in me also. But in terms of guys and doing something physical and something competitive, I don't think I don't think I had that consistency. Like I said earlier, I don't think there's not a lot of people in people's workplaces that are doing the stuff that F3 is doing.
Yeah.
And so and that's the thing. As much as that first workout or those first couple workouts hurt, I think, deep down, whether it doesn't matter if someone's in F3 or not, I think they crave that. Man craves that physicality and the competitiveness and the goal setting and shooting for something that's hard. I mean, it's do hard things, like we say. So that's what I was definitely missing. And that's what F3's provided for me.
Yeah. I love you mentioned this too, a little bit of like the morning, right? To me, it's just the best time, right? It's like by the time you get through the day. There's a lot of, in Free to Lead, they talk about noble excuses, right? Like we'll come up with just about anything, but it ultimately, it's the perfect time. So curious thoughts, because I think there is some research out there too, right? On like guys doing difficult things together, but then that kind of helping to be vulnerable and create stronger relationships. So talk to me a little bit about like second F. What's been your experience with that piece? Have you seen any growth there?
Oh, I absolutely have. I teach, I not only teach World Civ up here, but I do 3 sections of our Leadership Academy.
Oh, cool.
And the leaders, I've been doing the Leadership Academy for teaching it, co-teaching it with another coach up here for about 9 years. And I'd say it's about 3 years ago, the game changer in terms of getting the class to where we want it to be was vulnerability. And at first, us demonstrating vulnerability so that then the kids feel comfortable enough to say what's on their mind. And you see that play out in F3 all the time. Some of those COTs that are probably really personal to the group of guys that are there, and sometimes that's not even shared amongst others unless they share it. That stuff's sacred, and when they do it, you remember it, and there's such a greater appreciation. As much as we try to hide our faults, it's amazing that when we share them with others, how much more liked we are, how much more accessible we become to that person, how much more real we are.
Yeah.
I mean, and you see that play out. Those are the best stories in F3. Is those comeback stories that are like, man, that's more impressive than anything I've done, or how can I use that in my life? They're remarkable. They're great. And what an amazing way to end a tough beatdown is to hear people being vulnerable.
Yeah, I love that too. I think it's interesting too, right? Because the sad clown syndrome, right, is ultimately like putting on a front or a mask and pretending to be somebody that we're not, right? So creating this space where guys can intentionally be who they are and be loved for it is like, I don't think it exists anywhere else, so.
No, it doesn't. It's something that it's the secret sauce. It's what takes teams to the next level. The teams that I've coached, when they've shown that vulnerability, it's incredible how they've taken off and accelerated. And the F3 culture, it just provides that on a daily basis. It provides the opportunity. And when new guys come in and they're new to it, they're a couple weeks in, they're a month in, and they see that, wow, when they say safe space, this isn't just another sign up at a business or something like that says, hey, here's what we do. You see it in action. You see it lived daily. It's incredible. It's the secret sauce.
Yeah. You mentioned COTs, and there's obviously a little bit of second F at some of the workouts, but has coffee been a key for you, or where else have you found the opportunity to connect with guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's harder during the teaching and coaching season to get to some coffee, but that was my favorite parts at the beginning, is the Titan Alley, the coffee. And it wasn't just, I like to think I'm blue collar in a lot of things, but I need some good coffee. I need some, and that coffee, I remember always telling the guys that, man, this is legit coffee. You just smile on your face, you stick around, and gets you off to a good start, and being able to just talk and about just anything with the guys at cafeteria. I've always loved that, especially after the big celebrations, whether it's the 4th of July, the 1776 workout, Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, the turkey trots and stuff. That stuff's a blast. Those are always great memories. Those are moments. I think we're always trying to be involved in moments. I always think we're trying to create moments. And when F3 again just provides moments for guys all the time to have those good memories together.
Well, and some of what you mentioned there are almost like these mini CSOP, events that do often have like a second F flavor, right? So like participating in a halfway house, or like the turkey trot or Santa sauna or some of those things. Did you find in your experience, was it just doing something a little more challenging, like upping the bar a little bit, kind of help to deepen relationship or connection with guys, or the conversation maybe during, or what was your?
When you are, there's a handful of guys that when you are that have completely when I'm with them, I know I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And I think of like the Dip Brothers. I think of KOA. I think of, there's a number of Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Swiper, throw him in there, approved there. When you're doing these hard things with some of these guys that are pushing along, I guess for me, I'm very thankful that they're pushing me with those. And that's another thing, like each person brings their unique talents to F3, no matter what shape they're in at all. And you're always getting something from everybody in there. So no, that's phenomenal. And I agree. It's interesting, just the number of guys that you could name, right? It'd be hard to name them all, that like you get next to them and in some way they're pushing you to be better, whether it's the way they talk about their family, or the way how fast they run, or different angles for different guys. But it does feel like there's always somebody next to you that's kind of like, hey, here's another opportunity, right? There's always something. When we Thursdays at the Sandlot, just getting a long run in and pushing yourself. And I remember, here's just one example, in teaching young kids. I remember, and there's been several people, like I said, that you could go on and on, but a good run with Firewalker about a year ago, and he's talking about, we're kind of relating to, he's trying to get, I think I asked him, what do you see from 23 to 26-year-olds right now in the workplace that maybe you didn't see 5 years ago? And it just light bulb, and he's going on and on. And I'm like, here's what I see from 16 to 18-year-olds right now, and here's probably what's coming later on. And what's amazing is we're both pushing each other and we're running hard. When you get in those deep conversations with other people, you almost forget you're working out. It flies by. So you're pushing each other. I get goosebumps thinking about it, how special that is. That's very hard to do on your own. And at least for me, that's very hard for me to get that combination on my own. Sure, I can listen to a podcast and run, and I do that, but the human dynamic of it, with people pushing you physically, pushing you to think differently, and even just getting ideas and being a sponge off of other people's comments. Because I love listening to, I like asking questions on a run and just listening to what people think. So I love it. Yeah,
well, that's an interesting question too. I wish we had the recording of your guys' conversation, but it is funny. I've had that happen too, where you're like, the conversation is so intense that you run faster, but you almost don't even,
Yeah.
notice
And
it. It's crazy.
I bet you can remember exactly what the day was, where it was at,
Yeah.
what it was about.
Yeah.
It's neat how that human element works out.
Yeah. Talk to me, I was just reading one of my devotionals today was talking about God working through relationships, right? And so we have this third F component within F3, and it's a very relational community of guys, right? As we've been talking. So I'm curious your perspective from a third F standpoint, any, changes or experiences you've had in that space, whether it's, maybe it's spiritual in nature, or maybe it's community service, but what's been your experience there?
Yeah, just a deepening in a sense. And I think what I love also is starting the morning off with a prayer, with arms around guys, and work together. The power of prayer, the power of doing that together, and hearing other people's faith. I love hearing it. And we've got some big time third F type people out there that are absolutely making me think. The COTs that have to do with faith really are inspiring. They're powerful, and it's impossible not to leave when there's a COT like that, not to leave that, and then on the way home, really think deeply on it.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing. So what F3 also provides for that is, I wouldn't say that when I was getting up before F3 that was the first thing I was doing. And so, I mean, goodness, it's so simple. Fitness, fellowship, and faith. It's so simple, but sometimes those simple things, I mean, as we're talking right now, it's profound to me.
Yeah.
I'm usually an hour and a half into my day, and I get all three of those done in an hour and a half, and then it can expand on those later on in the day just because of my start. And that's a profound thing. So yeah, it's really allowed me to increase my thought of my faith in the morning.
Yeah. Do you, just curious your journey. I mean, did you grow up in the church, or, initially I started with, the guy that's always smiling, and I do think I'm curious, right? Where does your hope or your smile come from? What's kind of the story being?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in the Catholic Church, still Catholic, St. Columbkille. It's my mom. My mom has always been a Catholic woman. She was the oldest of 8 kids.
Oh,
and her faith means a ton to her. She grew up in big time poverty in South Omaha. So she has this combination of spirituality and toughness and resiliency. And like just a quick story on it, because I think everything, and my dad's amazing too, but it's my mom who's kind of probably why I'm smiley a lot and just kind of outgoing, is because that's who she is. We went to a mom and me camp out when I was 5-6 years old, whatever one it was.
Nice.
And so that means my mom's like 27, 28. She had me when she was still in college, and she was waiting tables, and I was a big old baby, just throwing up all the time, waiting tables, being touched. And anyway, she's like, all right, doesn't matter how we finish, we're just gonna do our best, okay, Joseph? And I was like, yeah, sure. And when I'm 5 or 6, when you you get older, when you're old, you have like these snapshot, like the memory's almost pictures, like here, then goes here, then goes here. I remember me being just drug on the ground. I remember her screaming at me. By the way, she's like 5'3", it's just a small thing. I remember just constant screaming. I remember going across the finish line. I remember it being on my back, and I remember the face like looking up, and she took me by the face like this. It's like, don't worry, we won. And
nice.
Like, oh, dang, okay. That's, you don't know at the time, and then you think, I'm like, oh, that's where the competitiveness comes. And then you think about like everything in my teaching and coaching is probably comes from my mom. She's a social worker in the Papillion Vista School District. She fights for people in poverty all the time. It's through her faith and through her Catholic faith, really, where she can act that out at work. And I think I saw things when I was younger where I'm like, I kind of like what she's doing. I like the way she's going about her business. I like how she's always got a smile on her face, even though things are tough. I want that same optimism. I guess, I'm just I think I just smile a lot because why not? Things are fun. Things are funny. I'm an optimist kind of by nature, and that's just how I've always been. So,
man, I love that. And it's interesting, right? As like a parent reflecting on like, how did we get to be the way we are? And then how do we parent our kids to, try to do some of that. Even we're not in control, right, of any of it, which is, this
right.
boggling. And I love this story about your mom. So this was it was a mom and me like race or a gunny sack race or
sorry, it was like a 3-legged race.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Okay. So I just remember race that goes 3-legged race getting drug and to her winning mattered. And it wasn't everything, but oh my gosh. And she my brother coaches at Colorado State basketball, and then between that and then our games, she just gets herself sick about those games, and it's like, I can't even do it anymore. I can't. I just wish you guys would quit. It's like, relax, everything's gonna be okay, that type of stuff. So
well, so that's a good segue kind of into the leadership piece, right? So you're a leader in the community as a teacher and as a coach, and then have also taught some leadership classes for students, so curious your thoughts on the Site Q role and what, from a leadership perspective, what's maybe different or the same about that role. And would love your thoughts on did being a Site Q give you any sort of experience or insight or equip you to better lead in other places, or how does that all fit together?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. I did a lot of when Lucky Charms asked me if I'd like to take it over. I was like, oh gosh, I don't even know what that entails. Help me out. And, he's like, oh, it's fine. And, one of the first things he says is, oh, there's no back blast at Titan Alley. So that was his hard sell for me. But I did, like I said earlier, I do a lot of listening and watching. So I was kind of watching other Site Qs and kind of go about their business and kind of how they started the site and then how it ended and kind of their journey through that. And I don't think it's bad or anything, but I witnessed people that still were going really strong with it, and then other people that maybe were getting a little weary, because sometimes it is a lot. And I think that's why it's 1 year, because it's time for somebody else to take it over. But I think it's just a great opportunity to, for me, Site Q, how can I continue to build relationships with the people that are coming to Titan Alley? Then rhetorical questions in my mind. Okay, as I'm doing this, am I developing these same relationships with my colleagues at work? Am I, these things, but I think it was a really good reminder for me to hey, stay on top of them.
Yeah.
Stay, don't slip, stay on top. Don't assume that people are okay and these things are okay. Continue to reach out to people. And I kind of like to do that in a one-on-one setting of others texting somebody or just talking to somebody at the workouts. And but I think it's those simple things that a lot of me remember. Hey, I can take that into my home. I can take that in my work, take that in my coaching, and make sure that I'm continuing to do what I say I'm good at, and that is building those one-on-one relationships.
Yeah, man, I love that, because I think some of it too is just you never know as a Site Q when a guy's going to show up and just needs another guy to talk to about something really difficult, right? Or,
Yeah.
and so being able to be that consistent guy, that's just that they know is going to be there.
And a person that comes to mind that I do, like I said, just the listening. Uh, I I have been so impressed with G String and
Mm,
his. I've heard it all the time at Titan Alley. His ability to ask questions, to have one-on-one conversations, and to lift people up and to pick people up. Oh man, that guy is going to be a great site Q someday. He
yeah.
is so good at that. He just has that instinctual. It's that instinctual quality. Like he knows he needs to have these conversations and he wants to.
Yeah, it's cool to see, kind of Sky Q, right? You think about like this, whatever's going on in the world that we can't see, and just that you would be at a place that a guy needs somebody with your listening ear, to just,
Yeah.
help him. And most of the time, at least for me, what's the most helpful is when another guy just says like, "Me too," right? That's really hard for me too,
Oh God. Yeah.
I think is really cool. But what
That's
about,
that affirmation too, is when somebody does open up with something, then and is vulnerable. The most underrated piece, and the most important piece is the follow up
yeah,
afterwards, and making sure that we're following up with guys and like, hey, that was amazing. Appreciate you sharing that. And obviously, this because you probably received a ton yourself. I have also. That those are powerful messages that do not take a lot of time,
yeah.
but they go a long way.
Yeah, I love that piece about thanking somebody for opening up, because it's hard. Like
Yes.
it's not easy to do, and just letting somebody know, like, wow, I recognize that took some courage to share, and I appreciate that you chose to share it with me, and
Right. Right.
just taking time to acknowledge that, especially for men, these days we've kind of we in F3 are just getting men used to opening up, and creating that safe space.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, the new guy who's been around for a month or two, it's still brand new, to maybe not something they're used to doing. So I love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
acknowledging.
Absolutely.
What do you think about, I think, so ear tag was your successor, and you mentioned just kind of observing and listening. And what do you think about ear tag and sort of talk us through the selection process of him as a successor at Titan?
He's a dude's dude. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just a great guy. I mean, always in a good mood. He talks about like, oh, it's tough. It was tough getting up today. The body's a little sore. All this stuff, like very relatable.
Yeah.
Everything he says on that is extremely relatable. And he loves having conversations with people. He's always showing up. He's been really consistent at Titan Alley for a long time. I mean, he could have easily and had it way before me. Also, easily could have happened. But he's a Smurf and Murph guy. Doesn't matter how much sleep he got. When he's on those runs, he likes talking sports. He likes talking his job. He's another guy that's really good at asking questions. And then I hear it with with him talking to other people. He's also good at following up on conversations that he had with a guy 4 days ago, a
Yeah.
week ago. Hey, how's that going for you? Hey, I know you said you had this. What's going on? And those are great qualities. So I just knew that he'd be a great guy to have. He also expressed interest in taking it over also, and it was actually around the same time I was asking him, I was getting ready to ask him what his thoughts were going to be on taking it over. So it was seamless, really easy transition. So he's off to a great start there, doing a great job.
Yeah. Do you feel like now that you've handed off the flag, is there a weight lifted, or you can go check out other Monday sites, or what's been the experience?
Yeah, I just did Stormbreaker.
Okay.
In a while. That was great. I showed up Monday, but at the same time, it was nice to do something different. And it is a little bit of a weight lifted off. I mean, like when I first took it over, I mean, I didn't have a clue what I was doing with so, like, oh boy, Memorial Day is coming up. I got to set some stuff up here. And
Yeah.
this is coming up, and like, oh boy. And that was a little stressful for me. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, but definitely it was almost when the end came, it was almost like two ends came, because our basketball season just came to an end in the district finals, and then just a couple days later was the shovel flag pass. So it was kind of like this finality in a sense, that is not, those aren't reliefs, but there's something taken off you that opens time. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, just getting to be at the shovel pass was just cool to see the guys come out and support, and just, it's amazing to me. Like, just the year goes by so quick, and you're like, wow, Titan Alley now has been a site for 3.5, 4 years, right? It's like, it's crazy just to think through that, so I just, and the kind of the leadership tree, right, of guys that have led there. So it's, you got JC, and then Lucky, and then you, and then now Ear Tag. I may be missing somebody, it seems like.
Nope, that's it right there. Those are the four. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just cool to like think about all the guys that have led and had an impact there. I'm curious your thoughts on, we talk a lot about high impact men, or, somebody accelerating. And I think for me, I've been thinking a lot about legacy, and just kind of like, what's the legacy I want to leave? And I'm looking at, over your head, you've got this poster that says, do it for your team, not for applause. So just thinking about all these different areas where you're serving other people, your family, your school, your team, and then also in F3. I mean, what's your take on legacy, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a whole podcast right there.
It's deep. Yeah, I know it.
No, it's just, are you, and one of these, maybe it's a little bit over. I mean, leave it better than you found it. And, like, if you were gone tomorrow from F3, would people feel that presence? There are so many guys in F3 that if they were to leave, you'd feel it. Yeah. It's just like when they show up to the workouts, they're there. They have a presence. Yeah. They're lifting people up, and it's taking care of people. I think for me, one of the profound changes in teaching and coaching for me was we're getting up to about 12 years. So it could have been like my 6th year of teaching, and I had a student in class that was just struggling, kind of wearing the same clothes every single day, and just kind of sloppy, and seemed like she was on some stuff outside of school, just bad grades. And we had, I don't know if you'd call it an altercation, I guess you would. The phone rang to the classroom, and I kind of just dismissively, and just a jerk way, as like, Laura, it's for you. She went down to the principal office. I didn't trust her to go down there, wisely so. So I kind of followed her down, and she got after me as she should have. I mean, like, how dare you treat me like that? And I kind of talked back to her, and then I kind of ended that year where it was like I never got to her. I never could get to her. That was a loss. So I see her the next year in the ISS room, because I had ISS duty, and she is sitting at one of the desks in school suspension, and she has a hood, and she's been crying. The hood's over her head, and I don't know why. I think it was the Holy Spirit working through me. I know it was. And I just took a sheet of paper that was randomly on the desk, and I wrote a note. I have no idea what the note said. And I kind of just, instead of waking her up, I kind of just put it on her back. She was kind of laying down, so I just kind of put it on her back. And I didn't see her the rest of the year that year. So that was her junior year. I teach sophomores. I had her sophomore year. Saw her the junior year looking like that. And I was like, oh, that poor girl. Then senior year comes and I saw her in the cafeteria and I didn't see her at first. She said, Mr. Cooley, and turned around. I'm like, oh my gosh, Laura, she looked great, healthy. And she was smiling. I'd never seen her smile really before, maybe a smirk. And we talked and she was so proud to share what she was doing.
Wow.
She was really into art and she was really proud about it. And we talked for maybe a minute or two and I was like, that's great. And I had my food and I went to check out and she called me one more time. And I bet it took a lot of courage. I'm just actually thinking about this for the first time because we're able to talk like this. I bet it took her a lot of courage to say the following, but when she did, it put me on a mission and a journey. And she said, Mr. Cooley, and she said, you remember that letter you wrote me? I said, I do remember that. It took me a second to remember, but like, yeah, I do. And she goes, I want to let you know I have that taped up to my ceiling so that I know when I go to bed at night and I wake up in the morning, I know somebody believes in me.
Wow.
And I could have just dropped my food right
That's
there. Cool. And that put me on a journey of trying to write letters to kids and notes to kids and lifting people up. And I say all this because of legacy. I think we're just trying to lift others up and just completely be selfless and try to fight human nature every single day. And just that question, what can I do to impact others? And I think people want to be believed in. I think they want to be recognized. I think they want to have value and provide value to groups. And everything I just said right there is F3. Yeah. I mean, people are providing value. They're providing time. When you give time to other people and you couple all those things in, and if one of our guys is doing that, I mean, they're leaving an amazing legacy. They really are. And so we're not perfect all the time, but boy, that's kind of what it means to me is, do people feel better? You know, it's like that old adage, they maybe forget what you say, but you'll never forget the way they made you feel. Yeah. And boy, there are a lot of guys that have helped me along the way with that in F3 for sure.
Yeah, man, thanks for sharing that story. That's awesome. You know, I think something you mentioned too is just like the power of the written word, you know. Oh man. Like it doesn't take long to write something down, but it reminds me at the men's retreat this last I think it was January, February maybe. There's like a portion of that day where like guys receive letters from different people in their life that, you know, have just taken time to write them a letter about, you know, their impact. Yeah. Boy, you never seen a room of grown men cry like that, right? It's just that, you know, when somebody takes time to write something and tell you, like you said, they believe in you, you're doing a good job, right? Just those simple things. Right. And I'm amazed too at, you know, we spend so much time trying to figure out our purpose in life. And sometimes it just takes one person to say, hey, you're really good at this thing over here. You know, like you really have a knack for encouraging other people or whatever it may be. So I love that example. And
yeah, it doesn't take, and that's where as guys, we think we have to come up with the next creative thing. We have to have these big, huge plans and really, we just need to do the simple things. Yeah. And it's already been done. It's already withstood the test of time. Whatever your faith is, if it's for me, Jesus, boy, that's time tested. It's approved. So it's simple. If we just continually go to the simple things, good things happen.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious, you know, in some of that, you know, as you're thinking about like, maybe how do we be encouraging or, you know, but like any advice for guys, like maybe it's a site Q or existing packs or maybe even new guys, but how do we how do you just continue to engage guys in what we're trying to do? I mean, anything you learned in your years with the group?
Yeah, I know there's just certain guys. When I think of like eyes up and people looking out for PAX members, it's Firewalker always has his antenna up
Yeah.
on other people's needs, and those are good reminders for me because I think it's very normal. I haven't said it out loud, but I'm sure there's people in there like, all right, I want to get my workout in. I want to make sure I'm going hard. I want to make sure I'm doing this. And I routinely see Firewalker kind of not caring about himself and
Mhm.
serving others. And those are good reminders for me. And that's helped me a lot. That really has and he's not the only one I've seen do that, obviously, when we're picking up the six and whatnot. But those are good reminders about what F3 is all about. It's not about you. It's about the whole. It's what is it? The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack.
Yeah.
And always taking care of each other.
Yeah. Well, so on that note, I mean, when you think about just you and where you're at, you kind of mentioned being at the end of some different seasons, right, with the shovel pass and basketball season. When we see you out in the gloom, later this week, what do you need encouragement or prayers for? Anything in that space that guys could serve you on?
That's a great question. I think just continue to push me. Continue to not only physically, but even I love asking questions, and like I said, and I love getting to know the guys and just continually maybe if I've earned the rights or just allow me to kind of keep probing and talking to guys and find out what they're all about. That's what I love, and continue to pray for me in whatever capacity that is. And education, love my job. It's kind of a cliche thing that over the last couple of years, like you hear about, it's tough teaching and stuff like that. It kind of is. It is. I mean, and I'm an optimistic guy, but I look around the people around me and even the students, and just pray for our students and our teachers throughout the country to have a disposition where we have joy. I see a lot more than ever, almost flatlined people just right in the middle, just kind of comfortable with mediocrity. And so that's been hard. So any prayers of just allowing the Holy Spirit to work through people and in people and with people would be, that'd be much appreciated and loved by me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got it. I think that's spot on. I think something as you were saying that, I was curious your thoughts on just the, just your leadership with students, or maybe it's players on on a team. But I mean, have you had any opportunity? I know a couple of guys have maybe EH'd a student or a golf, team member. I'm thinking of, I think Dr. Thunder or somebody had like 4 of his golf players show up one time to work. But have you had any opportunity there? Or how do you broach that kind of thing as you're trying to steward or lead?
Yeah, we've had a couple Papio South guys here. Not as many as I would have anticipated. I know that Rooney and myself and Sundance is a teacher up here, so we've gotten him, which is a good thing, and he's tried to get a couple other guys. I think we have a good balance right now of not pestering, but at the same time kind of encouraging, and it's only a matter of time for sure that we get it. I know we had a substitute teacher up here. This was last Friday. He's 56, 58 years old. And I had mentioned something about the workout to my kids, and it's like, oh, you know those Curry guys, which are the Dip brothers, and they're always trying to get me out there. I'm like, I'm telling you, they know what they're talking about. Get out there,
Yeah.
get out there. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and this is the time of year, right?
Yeah.
It's time of year to get those going again, and so that's a good reminder for me right there. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've got to continue to put your arm around guys and say, come on out.
Yeah, well, you think about too, like the scholarship, the foundation, some of the things that we've been able to do, within the F3 Omaha region, and just, if we're going to prevent sad clown syndrome, like somehow we got to keep, getting people in younger. Are your kids? Do you have any boys, or have your kids been out to any 2.0 workouts?
I've got a 13-year-old son, and
Okay.
he's definitely coming out soon. He's
Okay.
he's done a little cross country. And he's done a little track, and he's kind of gearing up for it. He's got a couple of workouts going
Okay.
around the house, so he's gearing up for it. So I'm gonna bring him out one of these mornings. Yeah,
Nice.
he doesn't want to not be able to do it, which I keep telling him, you're fine, whatever works. But yeah, we're gonna get him out there for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll be praying for you on that. That's a special moment from the guys that I have two daughters, so I don't really know that
Okay.
experience yet, but
I've got $2 myself. There's nothing better. There's nothing
yeah.
better.
Well, hey man, anything else that, from your story or just experience or things you like guys to know that you want to share while you've got the airtime?
Yeah. Everything about F3's culture is what it really is. I've never been so convinced of something, is what every Fortune 500 company is trying to get in their culture. It's what every business is trying to get. And it is incredible how easy F3 makes it look.
Yeah.
And how difficult other people make it seem. Like behind me, I'll just grab whatever it may be. Trying to find, I got a ton of books back here that, let's see, 21 most powerful minutes in a leader's day and all this stuff.
John Maxwell, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's stuff like that, but that's all just, it means nothing unless it's actually lived out. And there is the one phrase that I keep going back to that builds teams is shared suffering. And that is, and wow, does F3 provide that on a consistent basis. Shared suffering physically, shared suffering in terms of here's what's going on in people's lives. Let's reach out to them. The power of prayer in that suffering. And that vulnerability is what all of these businesses and these companies and organizations are missing. And yet it amazes me how easy it is for F3.
Yeah.
And all it is like F3. I haven't thought about this till now, but F3 is like, it is like when you see like employee owned business or whatever that, this is employee owned.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the people that had decided that they want to get involved with this. And then they take incredible ownership of making sure that culture never slips. It's why we do the repetitive things every single day. And the credos and the mission statements, 5 core principles. I mean, they're not just things that are, let's laminate this and put it up on the wall and here we go. And oh my gosh, we've got the culture. F3 has it. And if there is anybody that's listening in and is kind of like, that stuff's too early for me, and that's, oh man, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. I can't think. I was just talking to Levy Monday morning, and we both agreed we've never regretted going to one workout. Now, we've suffered in plenty of them, but never regretted going to one workout. But boy, the sad clown regrets of not going. It's real, and those people, this is stuff that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your job is. It doesn't matter about your comfortable lifestyle. This will change. This will make profound change in people. So anybody that's kind of on the fence, oh man, you go change your life, get involved.
Man, I love it. I think that's a wrap right there, man. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love what you said, and what's so cool too is that each guy has their own experience or reasons why they stay, and so then the word of mouth advertising, right? It's just like we don't even have to create it, right? It's just like I'm sharing my experience with people I'm trying to EH, and it just. I don't know. I'm right there with you. I know for my team at work, I'm constantly trying to like sprinkle in the concentrica model and different things from the Q source to try to see if we can implement F3 ideas and strategies at work. But it's still really hard. And the main difference is the shared suffering, like you said, on a consistent basis is. It's hard to recreate that, I think. In a corporate
it's very hard. Yeah, that's why F3 is so special. Definitely.
Man, this has been awesome. Well, let's take it out in a little name-orama. Sound good?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll start us off here. Brandon Flehardy, 37, The Plague.
The Plague. Joseph Cooley, 40, Feeny.
Feeny, nice job.
And I did a little foot tap there underneath too.
Yeah,
got me going that years ago. So
there you go. Is there a call sign with Feeny? Has Swiper come up with anything, or what's?
No, nothing. G String had a little like Coach Feeny going on, but no, there's nothing.
Okay.
Maybe we've stumped him. Maybe he has failed at something. I don't know.
All right. Well, Swiper, if you're listening, you got an assignment, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, this was great, man. Have a good rest of your night.
Appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Later, man.
All right.